Hi, my name is Priska Jongengoma. I am a registered nurse trained in Malawi, Southern Africa. Currently, I am working in the United Kingdom. Welcome to my channel. On this channel, we talk about migration, not just for healthcare professionals, but for everybody who just wants to migrate from their country to the United Kingdom or to wherever country they want to go to. I implore you to join me on this channel as we will unpack all the bits and whatever there is to know about migration and just about everything else. Please drop your questions, your comments, or anything or topics, just everything that you want us to discuss on this channel. Thank you so much for joining me. In today's video, we'll talk about the English requirements for NMC registration. So, the NMC wants to know that you're able to communicate in English. So you're able to demonstrate your competence in reading, writing, speaking, as well as listening. So the NMC has 3 evidence types that they would register you, but they can use only one of these. So there are 3 evidence types, but you can only be registered with one if you satisfy one. Now, the first one is you should be able to have achieved the required score in the academic version of International English Language Testing System, which is the IELTS, or the Occupational English Test, commonly known as the OET. So they have scores on each domain on how much you should get for you to get registered. Evidence 2, you should have completed a pre-registration training of nursing in English. They have countries on which are allowed to use this as their evidence. Evidence 3, you have recently practiced for 1 year in a country where English is a majority spoken language. So they also have a list on there of which countries have English as the majority spoken language. So let's talk about evidence type 1. So evidence type 1 is the one that we talked about, the IELTS or the OET. So for IELTS, you must have achieved at least a 7 in reading, listening, and speaking, and at least a 6.5 in writing. For AT, you must have at least achieved a grade B, which is 350 to 440 points in reading, listening, and speaking, and at least a grade C, which is a grade C plus, which is 300 to 340 in writing. Whichever test you decide to take, whether the IELTS or the OET, these should have been taken in the last 2 years. So the tests are valid for 2 years. So you can also meet the required scores across 2 sittings of the same test. So let's say you did your IELTS, then you didn't meet the requirements, the desired scores, you can resit. Or the OET, you can resit. But then this resitting has to be done within 12 months of the first resitting, and you can combine the scores. So, in case you have taken the test twice and missed one of the required scores by no more than 0.5, that's in IRIS, or half a grade in OET, you can supplement your test with additional supporting information from my employer. So in this case, you have sat for the exam twice and you still haven't met the requirements, but it should be maybe 0.5. Then you can also use evidence type 3 to supplement your English requirements. I hope that makes sense. Evidence type 2 is where you have completed a pre-registration nurse, midwife, or nurse associate program that was taught and examined in English. To be fair, most of us, we were taught in English, but when it comes to presenting this to the NMC, they usually don't accept it. So we'll go straight to writing the IELTS. So I'm not going to do much on that. Evidence type 3. So in this case, you should have recently practiced for 1 year in a country where English is a majority spoken language. So there's a list of countries where the UK recognizes them as majority English speaking. So if you have worked for 12 months prior to your registration, you're able to use this as evidence. But then this will depend on your employer, because the employer has to give you the certification, the reference to say, yeah, this person has been working for us for a year. They're able to communicate in English in the domains that we have said. So you should be able to write, speak, listen in English. So it all depends on your employer. Others would work for the whole year and the employer would say, no, you do not satisfy these English requirements. So the supporting information from employers, this has to be your line manager and somebody else other than your line manager who is above your line manager. So two people at least have to give the certification to say you're able to communicate in the language. I'll put the link to the English language requirement guidance in the comments below. So go into the comments and you find the link in there. Now, there are people that will go like, should we write IELTS? Or maybe should we write OET? It depends on what you want. But then, if you're writing OET is only used for the registration of nursing. I'm not sure it's used for traveling to the United Kingdom. But for you to travel to the UK, if you write the IELTS, UKVI, academic UKVI, you can use that for both registration as well as traveling. If you write the OET, you can only use the OET for the registration. So for you to get an entry for your visa, you still need to have the UKVI part of the English test. Another thing, you can use the academic part of it, the academic part of the IELTS to apply for school, for your master's or anything. For the AT, I haven't read anything about that. Usually it's just about practicing in the healthy care professionals. But the good thing about OET is that they test you in your healthy care professional language. So it's more like you're in the hospital setting, but they're just testing on how you can communicate in the language. I hope that makes sense. For IELTS is a fish in a sea, because you don't know what they're going to test you on. They test you just in everything. Like for me, so I've written IELTS 3 times. Not that I failed. I know somebody's like, oh, Priska, I failed the IELTS. No, I didn't fail. So what happened was, at first, when I had of the opportunity to come to the UK, in our country, we only had the academic, IELTS academic. So I wrote the IELTS academic. But then when we started the process of coming to the UK, had the interviews, for us to travel, they had introduced the UKVI part of it. So I couldn't travel with just the academic in general. We tried to fight lawyers and everything. It didn't work. So at the end of the day, I had to go back to write the IELTS general UKVI for me to travel. So that was I wrote the IELTS in 2021. Oh yeah, thereabout. So I traveled to the UK, started the whole process of nursing registration. By the time I was finished with my nursing registration, the first academic IELTS had expired. So I had to resit for the academic part of the IELTS so that I can get registered with the NMC UK. So I have written IELTS thrice. You can imagine the hassle. So it's just, they test you on everything. My last academic, the last IELTS that I did, they tested me on space, astronauts and that bit. Damn, I was like, okay, but then I passed. You just have to speak to whichever you gotta say, just anything you know about the space. So you don't know what they're gonna test you on. They just test you on everything. On OET, you're being tested on the language that you use on everyday basis, the healthy care profession terms. So it's a bit easier. I don't know. I've never done OET, but just my take that I would think that would be easier. Yeah. So that's IELTS or OET. So for the country where I come from, Malawi, you do the IELTS with the British Council. Go in the link in the comment section and you find the link for the British Council. That's the only approved test center for the IELTS. We don't have any OET center in Malawi. But then when I went to the website, the OET website, there's something about OET at home. So you can do the writing, listening, and reading on your computer at home, but there are conditions to that. Then you can do the speaking. So you have to go through the website and see if you're allowed to have the OET in your country and where you can have the speaking experience. Yes, so basically that's it about the English requirement. I don't know if you have any questions. Please do not hesitate to go in the comment section to ask or to highlight for anything that I've missed in this discussion. Thank you.